Hello, my name is Michael Jr. I have an interesting story to tell you today. Title: I met Nathaniel at bookstore and I love him forever. My name is Christina. I am 40 years old. I live a careful life. I manage a small estate. I spend money with order. I keep my circle small. I avoid scenes and loud rooms. I avoid trouble. I met Nath at a bookstore. He stood near a shelf of used novels. He had earth hands. His shoes had small scuffs. His smile arrived slow. He spoke about a book on carpentry. He loved old tools. He told me about a plan to open a small workshop. I listened. I found his honesty arresting. I found his laugh rare and clean. I felt something I had not felt in years. He had no money. He had pride. He carried hope. A week before I met Nath, a case crossed my desk. A judge requested a meeting. He used his office to make advances. He suggested meetings outside hours. He used compliments to replace respect. He leaned on power. I attended the meeting because I had to. He spoke soft. I left cold. I felt hollow in a place used to quiet. His power could ruin me. He knew court procedure. He could expose private files. He could twist words. I learned to fear exposure. I learned to fear shame more than pain. I learned to live small. Nath entered my life like fresh air. I vowed to change my stance on fear. I vowed to protect him. I told Nath I believed in his plan. I told him I could help. I offered funds. I offered a business registration. He hesitated. He refused at first. He feared charity. He feared loss of dignity. I told him I wanted to partner in a way where his name stood firm. I drew a plan on my table. I wrote a list of steps and roles. I offered $1 million to seed his business. I insisted on a clean account. I insisted on records in his name. He read the papers. His hands trembled. He asked if I expected anything from him. I answered with truth. I wanted a life with him. I wanted to marry him. I wanted to share mornings and small rituals. He said yes. He said he loved me. He feared the rumor mill. He feared people seeing him as my project. I said I would build an outward image of success for him. I said I would make sure his storefront and truck and tools carried a tidy look. I said I would teach him to manage payroll and suppliers. Chapter 4: Secrets and Sleepless Nights. We married in a quiet ceremony. We exchanged vows before a small group. We promised love in plain words. The guests witnessed our hands joined. Nath looked like a man in a new suit. He smiled with reserve and joy. At home, nights held unease. I guarded our ledger. I checked invoices. I answered suppliers. I trained staff. I met with accountants. I built the company from the shadows. People praised Nath for his drive. They praised his workshop. They praised his workmanship. Few knew where the capital began. Few knew I signed checks under a company name. I slept in short stretches. The judge still walked in my memory. He still occupied corners of my mind. The old fear woke me at odd hours. I feared his curiosity. One afternoon a letter arrived. It had no stamp. It had no return. The envelope held a single photograph and a note with a line of words. The photograph showed Nath and me at a market. We held hands. The note suggested I had hidden payments in Nath's name. The writer hinted knowledge of my past meeting in the judge's chambers. My chest tightened. I saw the judge in every shadow. I feared an accusation would tie my name to bribery or scandal. I feared Nath would suffer for my choices. I took the photograph to a friend in the legal office. She said the note had no legal weight. She said anonymous threats were common. She said fear fueled rumors. I believed factual words. Yet fear held sway. Nath noticed my distance. I tried to keep the ledger secret for the company sake. He noticed invoices marked by my handwriting. He noticed contracts signed with a company name he had never seen. He asked for the truth. I gave him a partial account. I said I had helped without specifying the source. He pressed gently. He asked why I hid the origin. He asked if I feared judgment from friends or family. I could not say the first cause. I could not say the judge's name. I could not say I feared the world's gaze. I told him I wanted his independence. I told him I wanted him to be proud. He accepted the reason and moved on. He did not know the note could change everything. The letter came again. This time the words carried a hint of law. The writer suggested proof existed. The writer suggested a meeting. The writer asked for a face. I felt anger. I felt resolve. I would not let a smear ruin our work. I could not let Nat's name be dragged into scandal. I had given funds to protect him, not to expose him. I devised a plan. I would find the author. I would meet them on my own. I would not take Nat into danger. I set a place in a cafe. I sat at a table near the window. I watched each person who entered. My hands folded in the shape of patience. I felt the weight of the envelope my lawyer had given me. I felt alone. A woman approached the table. She wore an old coat. She smelled of rain. She placed an envelope on the table. She said one line. She said, "You are careful." I said nothing. I opened the envelope. Inside was a second photograph and a ledger page showing a payment chain. The chain led to a shell company with a name I did not recognize. I asked the woman who sent her. She shrugged. She said she served people who wanted to know the truth. She asked for payment to stop. I refused. The woman left. The envelope remained. Chapter 8. Under pressure I took the ledger to my accountant. He traced the shell company to a small trust. The trust had ties to the judge's extended network. I felt a coil tighten. I could file a complaint. I could sue the anonymous sender. I could call the judge's conduct into question in court. Yet each option risked exposure. Each option required evidence. Each option risked my job. Nath asked for involvement. He wanted to know why people watched us. He wanted to step into the fight. I stopped him. I could not risk his name. I told him to focus on the workshop. I told him to train new staff. I told him to expand services. He said he would not hide in fear. He said he would stand beside me. His voice shook with resolve. I accepted his presence. I felt strength in his offer. I still hid the judge's name. A local blogger posted a rumor about our business. He suggested a wealthy benefactor had bought the company. He implied payments had a hidden origin. He used a quote from an anonymous source. Nath confronted the blogger. He demanded a retraction. The blogger refused. He enjoyed the click traffic. He enjoyed gossip. Nath wanted proof to clear our name. He wanted to call a press meeting. He wanted declarations and documents. I stopped the press meeting. I feared new questions. I feared court subpoenas. I feared the judge's influence. Nath accused me of cowardice. He called me secretive. He said the workshop belonged to the town and to its trust in honest work. I could not meet his anger with calm. I could not show the ledger and the letters. I could not tell the town why I signed the checks. We argued in low voices. The argument left us raw. He left the house to sleep in the workshop. That night I sat in the dark. I held the photograph of us at the market. I held the note. I held the fear in my ribs. I weighed choices. I could reveal everything. I could file a complaint about the judge and show payments. I could stand in court and speak truth. I could risk my career. Or I could accept a small sacrifice. I could pay the blogger. I could bribe silence with money. I could preserve the workshop's image. I could keep our life clean in public while living with a private lie. My hand trembled. I thought of Nath sleeping under the glow of the workshop lamp. I thought of his hands smoothing wood. I thought of his laugh when a client praised his work. I made a choice. I chose exposure. I walked into the courthouse. I asked for a public record. I ordered documents. I filed a statement focused on the anonymous letters and the hint of a shell trust. I avoided mention of my meeting with the judge. I described harassment in measured words without graphic detail. I described pressure in general terms. The press sensed drama. Reporters arrived. The blogger prepared an expose. Nath stood on my side. He had come to the office before dawn. The judge learned of the filings. He called a few favors. He smiled in public and declined comment. He moved through corridors with purposeful calm. An investigator traced the trust. The trail led to people with ties to the judge. The investigator asked for more time. Nath held my hand during hearings. He looked at me with steady eyes. He thanked me with small words. He used strength more than praise. Investigators found a link between the trust and a shell firm used to launder influence. They found emails showing favors for favors. They found records of phone calls in odd hours. The judge faced inquiries. The court suspended a few permissions while the matter progressed. The town watched. The blogger took down his post. He posted an apology. He claimed error. He refused to say why he posted the rumor. I released a statement. I admitted to funding Nath's company to protect his independence. I said I acted to prevent stigma and to preserve his dignity. I avoided mention of coercion by name. Some people praised my sacrifice. Some people questioned motives. A few accused me of arrogance. Nath forgave the secrecy. He said my action had given him a chance to build a life with dignity. He told me he had no shame in a helping hand. He said he wanted to be my partner in truth. The judge resigned from a few duties. His circle lost influence. The investigation exposed old patterns. The court moved to new oversight measures. People spoke of fairness in low tones. My job remained intact. My career suffered minor bruises. I lost some acquaintances. I kept friends who mattered. Nath scaled his business. He hired 3 apprentices. He bought a small van. He trained young men who had fewer options than him. He paid fair wages. We grew into a team. We learned to discuss money openly. We learned to set public roles for private help. We learned to keep records and to let the world see the business side. Our mornings changed. We rose before the sun. We walked to the workshop together. We drank coffee and planned deliveries. We argued over suppliers and prices. We solved problems with short sentences. We held each other accountable. At home we cooked. We argued over trivial things. We laughed at small mistakes. We found comfort in chores and in small rituals. Our love matured. It settled into steady actions. Nath asked for nothing special. He asked for honesty. I gave him honesty. I gave him ledgers and passwords. I unsealed files. I sat across from him and explained each step of my decision. I wrote a formal letter outlining how the funds entered his business and how we would move forward with full compliance. He read the letter with a face of calm. He folded it into his pocket and kissed my forehead. A new threat arrived months later. A former client of the judge filed a counterclaim with vague accusations. The court reopened a matter tied to prior favors. The town watched with old curiosity. Nath felt pressure. He worried customers would leave. He worried contractors would cancel orders. I sat with him across the table. I told him the steps we had taken. I showed him the audit. I reinforced our records. I reassured him with facts. We chosen transparency. We believed it would hold. We believed truth would endure. Years passed. The business grew. Nath hired more staff. The town began to speak of the workshop as a place of skill. I paid taxes and filed forms. I attended town meetings. I taught youth apprentices bookkeeping. We planted a small garden in the yard. We ate simple meals with friends. We paid debts and saved for future repairs. People still asked about our first days. I told a trimmed version of truth. I spoke of help and of careful choices. I did not speak of fear or the judge's name. Nath told his apprentices to learn a craft and to keep their dignity. He told them the work mattered more than money. He told them to build things with care. A year after the first letter, the court closed the last inquiry. Investigators found no further claims. The judge moved to a different jurisdiction. The town returned to a slow rhythm. Clients came and left. Orders grew steady. Nath and I celebrated with a small dinner at home. We invited 2 friends. We opened a bottle of wine. We toasted the slow work of everyday life. I looked at Nath. I felt gratitude. I felt relief. I had chosen exposure over secrecy. I had chosen risk over quiet bribes. I had chosen a life where truth lived with us. We began a scholarship fund in the workshop. We taught skills to young women and men. We offered small loans under fair terms. We mentored the apprentices. Our town benefited. We built benches for the school. We fixed the market stalls. We offered free repairs for elders. People spoke of the workshop as a place of renewal. They spoke of Nath as a craftsman and a leader. They spoke of Christina as a silent partner who gave without fanfare. On our 10th anniversary, Nath stood in the courtyard. He called the apprentices near. He spoke in short sentences. He thanked the team for long hours. He thanked me for patience and for truth. He asked me to come forward. He took my hand. He said he wanted a second vow in private. We promised small things. We promised patience. We promised truth. We promised to protect each other in public and private. We kept no secret ledger between us now. We shared passwords, accounts, and plans. I once lived under a cloud of fear. A man in power made a demand and pushed my limits. I changed course. I built a life with a man named Nath. I used money to build freedom for him. I used truth to clear our path. I learned a lesson about choice. I learned courage grows in action. I learned love asks for honesty. If you face fear, note this. You have choices. You can hide and lose trust. Or you can face exposure and build a life on truth. I married Nath. We work with our hands. We live simply. We keep our story plain. We do not regret our choice. If you want a longer expansion with more scenes, dialogue, or a full chaptered novel version, tell me which parts you want expanded. I will write more pages focused on those scenes without any explicit sexual content. Kindly like, comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel for episode 6.